Hello, everyone, and welcome to MOS Live. We have a very special Ask a Scientist show for you today as a part of our National Chemistry Week themed Sticking with Chemistry. Today, I'm joined by a panel of 4 chemistry college students who are ready to share their passion for chemistry and their personal experience pursuing chemistry as a career. Now, we'll meet our special guests in just a moment, but first, let me introduce myself. My name is Megan. I use the pronoun she, hers, and I'm an educator at the Museum of Science. And if you are joining through Zoom, you are going to be able to ask your questions through our Q&A box at the bottom, and I am going to act as your moderator, and I'll be able to see those questions and ask them for you. Also, if you're on Zoom, you can use the the caption button at the bottom to be able to get those closed captions. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, we're so happy to have you join us today, but unfortunately we cannot see your questions there. But I think it's time for us to get started here. So I am going to ask our guest scientists to come on screen, and we're going to give them all a moment to introduce themselves. So come on up. Thank you so much. Excellent. So for our introductions today, we're going to have them say their name, their pronouns, and share a little bit about themselves. So Emanuela, you want to get us started?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Emanuela. I am currently a graduate student at MIT. My pronouns, first of all, my pronouns are she, her. I'm currently a graduate student at MIT. I did my undergrad at Princeton University, where I studied chemical and biological engineering, but I actually ended up doing a lot of independent work as an undergraduate in organic chemistry, specifically organometallic chemistry. So when it came time to apply to graduate school, I kind of synthesized all of those chemical, biological engineering, and chemistry, and decided to join a group at MIT Chemistry in the field of chemical biology or biochemistry. Right now, I'm a third-year graduate student in Professor Matthew Shoulder's lab. And like I said, it's a biochemistry, chemical biology group. And I guess the last thing was, talking about a success that I'm particularly proud of with respect to things chemistry. So actually, before I started college at Princeton, I had no experimental chemistry experience at all. Like I couldn't even name the glassware that we use in chemistry, and I was always the last person to leave the lab. And somehow now I'm on my way to getting a PhD in chemistry. So it's just proves to show you that really anyone can do it.
All right, I'll go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Ibarra, pronouns she and her. I currently am a 5th-year graduate student at Boston University and working in the lab of John Caradonna. But before that, I got my bachelor's degree in chemistry with a minor in physics at Salem State University. So clearly I like my Massachusetts, right? And I'm going to share my screen briefly and have some slides to really show off my nerdiness here. So yeah, a little bit of my time at undergrad at Salem State. I was definitely a society member where this isn't my first time being involved in the Museum of Science Chemistry Week. And you can see here I was very much a part of my outreach and was just very excited about chemistry. So it's been something that I've liked since the beginning. And currently what I'm doing at Boston University is I work on an enzyme that's actually in all of us, and it converts this very important amino acid tryptophan, which you might hear around the holiday seasons as you consume copious amounts of turkey, possibly. And it converts it from tryptophan to serotonin, which those of you who know, serotonin is a pretty important molecule, which is responsible for so much in the body, not only just like your mood, but your sleep, your hunger, and your food intake. So just a little bit about me in that sense. Okay, and then I guess something that I'm proud of was that I was a first-generation college student, so I was the first person in my family to get a degree, and so I chose chemistry, right? Something pretty easy. And yeah, so that was actually like probably one of the most successful things, and also challenging because I didn't really have anyone before me to really give me life and college advice. So I'm really proud to say that I'm the first person in my family to get a degree in chemistry.
Hi everyone, I'll go next. So my name is Maria Fonziga Guzman. My pronouns are she, her. I'm currently attending the University of Massachusetts Lowell, where I am in my senior year majoring in chemical engineering and minoring in chemistry. I work in the Ross lab, which is in the chemistry department, and this is a nanoscience lab. Nanoscience is definitely at the intersection of a few fields, I would say. So it really helps to draw upon my engineering knowledge and also learn a lot about chemistry and physics. As something that I'm really proud of that has come about with my chemistry undergraduate is the fact that I am in the process of applying to graduate school. And it is quite a lot of work, I would say, but I'm super excited because this is something I never imagined myself doing, and it's only made possible thanks to all the wonderful research opportunities I've been able to participate in.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathaniel George, and you can call me Nate for short. I use the pronouns he, him, and I'm a junior chemical engineering student with a focus in biology, also at Umass. In high school, I interned at a green chemistry group, a green chemistry educational group called Beyond Benign. And I also worked in their research lab sector doing their own educational projects, which they teach to K through 12. And one thing I'm really proud of is my current lab group for my unit operations lab that I'm taking right now, because we had an amazing job working on our last lab report that we just did on pumps and compressors, and we got 100 on it, which what they don't tell you is it's fun doing the experiments, but then the lab report is actually, going through all the work and explaining what you did and why it has purpose. And pumps and compressors are really important because in the industry we use pumps to move chemicals all the time.
That was some excellent introductions. I felt like I got to know each of you just a little bit better here. So just as a reminder to our participants that are in Zoom, you're welcome to submit any questions that you have, either for the group or for individuals in the Q&A box at the bottom. So feel free to submit those questions at any point, but I certainly have some questions to get us started here. And I think I'm going to call on Cynthia here because you mentioned that being a first generation college student, you're like, oh, I chose chemistry, like it's the easiest, right? Maybe with a little bit of sarcasm there. So I'm wondering, what did make you choose to focus on chemistry? Did you have a certain connection with it? I'd love to know a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So it actually started in high school when you're required to take your chemistry class, and I remember taking it and I was like, wow, I absolutely hate this. This is so hard. And it was like a challenge, and it didn't come easy to me at first, but once I started to really put the hours in and really sort of understand it, I saw how cool it was. So it was like a hate to love relationship with chemistry, and definitely also helped having a really passionate teacher to see how excited he was talking about it. And in moving through that high school chemistry and then to college and just meeting a bunch of nerds who really like chemistry, and that passion just fueled my passion, and it's really just helped me to get to where I am, which is still working in chemistry. And yeah, so
Excellent. Maybe we can have someone else answer a similar question to that, because I think it is sort of unusual when you hear someone say, oh yeah, I'm choosing to go to school for chemistry. Maybe Emanuela, do you mind sharing with us about your experience?
Yeah, sure. I guess my experience is slightly different because I chose to formally study chemistry in graduate school as opposed to starting from undergrad. But I did say I worked in an organic chemistry lab as an undergraduate, and how that came about was, like I said, I was really bad at the labs and I was the last person to leave. And it didn't feel like something that I was inherently bad at. It just felt like I didn't have a lot of practice. So I applied to join my professor Abigail Doyle's lab, and I basically said in my application, hey, I really enjoy learning chemistry, which is the science of understanding chemical reactions. And I think I'd be good, but I'm really bad experimentally, and I'd like to have some experience in your lab. And she said, come on in. And that's kind of what got me started in formal chemistry training. And then when it came to time for me to apply to graduate school, I had so much experience just working in her lab, and I kind of knew the field And she really encouraged me to apply to chemistry programs in addition to chemical engineering programs. And I did, and I met my current PI when I was looking at schools, and I was like, that's the person I want to work for. So that's kind of been my path into chemistry.
Very cool. And actually, in your response there, you answered one of our questions here in the Q&A, which Isora, age 9, was wondering, what is chemistry? So you defined it just for a moment there, but do you want to expand on that, Emanuela, since you already started us off?
Yeah, sure. I think I said chemistry is kind of the science of understanding chemical reactions. I think that's a broad definition, although not the broadest possible definition. I think the way that I view chemistry is everything in our natural world is always interacting with each other at the tiniest level. And they, oftentimes you're producing things or you're consuming things, again, from, the microscopic level to like really large levels. And different parts of chemistry kind of study that. So it could be, reactions in a beaker that change color and look cool, but also, like Cynthia mentioned, reactions in our bodies as well. So that's kind of how I think about chemistry. But
yeah, I think I've also heard sometimes a surprising place to find chemistry is in your kitchen, of like when you're baking cookies, right? That's totally chemistry too, as well as certainly if anybody out there dyes their hair or gets their hair dyed, that's also very much based in chemistry. I know that's not my forte in any way. I'll leave that to the professionals and the scientists. Maria and Nate, I know, so both of you are both at Umass Lowell, if I'm not mistaken. And so I'm wondering, what made you choose Umass Lowell as an option to pursue chemistry? Maybe, Maria, do you want to get us started?
So I would say that the process that I took, since I came in completely undecided on what I was going to study, I went through and looked at actually the different pathways and what classes those majors actually involved taking. And then from there, I kind of decided like, okay, chemistry, I'm going to look up these areas that they talk about, like inorganic chemistry, organic chemistry, and see what that's all about. And then I ended up choosing chemical engineering because you're just shocked reading some of those classes and you're like, I have no idea what this means. And honestly, that seems kind of cool to have no idea and go into something that just seems like such a challenge. And then the reason why I actually ended up picking up a minor in chemistry is the fact that I did really want to pursue some of those disciplines in chemistry that I'm interested in and help me with my research. But yeah, overall, UMass Lowell has just a really great chemical engineering program. And then the research opportunities I found in chemistry are just outstanding. So I've been pretty happy.
So like Maria said, for me, I initially knew I wanted to go into chemical engineering because I was like, oh, chemical engineering, they use all the sciences all together, one major. And similar to Maria, UMass Lowell really does have a strong chemical engineering program, as well as just a strong engineering program. And I live in Billerica, so Lowell is like 20 minutes away. So that was also a big determining factor. And at UMass Lowell, they really tailor the program to give you the more important information that you need. So for example, because I'm a chemical engineer, I only have to take Orgo 2 lab instead of Orgo 1 lab, because all of this stuff that I need to know for the engineering processes are in organic chemistry too.
Very cool. It sounds like the school has served each of your interests and really supported you in finding that interest in chemistry. And I know Cynthia and Emanuela, you both have pursued chemistry sort of beyond undergraduate at this point. So Cynthia, do you want to share with us just your experience of sort of pursuing it beyond that undergraduate experience and sort of applying for grad school and working to now your 5th year?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't know that I wanted to do any sort of research until my undergraduate professor, someone who I did, small research project with in her lab, and she really pushed me to sort of do this thing called an REU, which is a NSF funded their National Science Foundation research experience for undergrads. So you apply and you get to work in like these crazy cool labs at different universities all across the country. And it was actually in that REU that I worked in the lab that I'm currently working with now, because I really liked the work that I did there. And so I guess mine was a bit more of an untraditional, because I knew this is the lab that I wanted to work in my junior year of my undergrad. And so I already had like a connection with the advisor. So my application process was, he really helped me out through that and was able to recommend me and say, hey, like this student worked in my lab and I really wanted them to, continue working in my lab. And so yeah, and it was definitely a challenge, because I thought it would be like, once the expectations a bit obviously different when you go from undergrad, where it's like, there's very much a path, like you take your classes, you do your lab reports, and you got a grade. Whereas in graduate school, it's a lot more of like finding yourself and being able to like take this like your advisor and really hone in your own project. But applying was difficult. Like I think I don't remember who said that they were applying so Maria's applying, and it's a lot. So definitely make sure you're organized, and definitely recruit, especially if you're in high school or when you're undergrad, recruit a professor to really guide you, and because they've done it before, they've gotten their graduate degrees. They're really good resources. So always just like when you're applying and just talk and make connections with your professors, because they can really get you to like move forward and meet these deadlines, and they're just a really good resource. So teachers aren't evil.
Emanuela, do you want to take a moment just to build off of Cynthia's experience and share your own experience in that?
Yeah, I can totally do that. I guess Cynthia really, said, and this is the truest thing, like chemistry and, the other natural sciences are very much based on their experimental sciences. And I think something that all four of us panelists have in common is that at the levels that we take experimental science pretty seriously, and that's kind of what we do, and that's very important. And that's kind of how, one progresses through a career in chemistry, even starting as a high schooler. So you might, I know that our audience is primarily high schoolers. There's many programs, both in Massachusetts, but nationally as well, that allow high schoolers to come into labs like ours and work for the summer to sort of, see if chemistry is something that you want to do, or just, learn what chemistry is about, and you pick up experimental skills. And then you go to, go on to your undergrad. And if you think that, okay, I want to pursue this some more, like all of us have done or are doing, join a laboratory in undergrad as well and continue to do research. And then, ultimately you decide whether you want to pursue a PhD in chemistry. And, that's, again, kind of a little more intense, more of the same, but definitely in keeping with the theme of doing experimental research, collecting data, testing your hypotheses, writing papers and stuff. And so that's kind of how you progress through a career in chemistry. And like Cynthia pointed out, there's opportunities at every stage for high school students, for undergraduate students, and even for graduate students. And so I also share that in common with Cynthia. Like I said, my first experience was joining a lab in organic chemistry when I was an undergraduate, and I worked in that lab for 2 years. And then, like Cynthia said, my undergraduate advisor was kind of instrumental in mentoring me through the graduate school application process, helping me put together, it's kind of similar to undergrad, but not really. You do write an essay, but your essay is going to be about, the research that you've done or the research that you want to do, instead of kind of a free-form essay. And you take, something similar to the SATs called the GRE, although that's now being phased out. And then, you apply to schools and you get responses back, kind of like you would high school to college.
Thank you for that. That was a good walkthrough there. And I see that we have a question in the Q&A, but just before we jump to it, I want to actually flip to Nate here, because you had said that you actually did get involved in high school in the Beyond Benign program that might have been in your high school, if I understood correctly. Do you want to just share that experience with our viewers here of sort of what that was like as a high school student?
Yeah, so Beyond Benign was actually through my school's internship program. And I interned there during my senior year of high school for first and second semester. And so Beyond Benign, like I said before, is a green chemistry educational group. And they're a small sector under the bigger company, Warner Babcock. And they usually deal with like greener chemistry processes. And so Beyond Benign, most of the stuff we did there was helping educate kids from K through 12 about how we can make experiments in our labs more greener. And by greener, it means like making sure there's less waste that we use. These chemicals are more safe. The final product is safer for both people who are consumers who are using it and the workers that are working in the labs to produce the product. And so on top of educating kids, we also, it was a group of 3 interns there, me and 2 of my other interns. And so when we weren't focusing on doing the education part, we were in their own lab doing specific experiments that they had tailored for kids to perform. And so one of them was the chitin polymer lab. So in insects, the main, I think it's either a protein or structural protein that they use is chitin, and that's found in their skeletal or exoskeleton. And so when you grind that up, it can be used as a polymer, which can be used to like make molds of stuff. So what we did was we made a solution of the chitin solution after we prepared it, and then we poured it into like these little like silicone cupcake molds. And so we had like a little cupcake mold made out of chitin. It was pretty cool.
That sounds pretty cool. I can't imagine making like cupcakes or muffins in a mold that's from an animal's exoskeleton. Science is pretty rad. So just to kind of relate to a question that we have in our chat from Brian, who's just wondering about career options in chemistry, especially across different education levels. So say if you only had your undergrad, or maybe you pursue your master's, or maybe you go all the way and go for your PhD. And I think this gets to maybe asking all of you, like, what is your end goal? Like, what's your goal with this educational pathway, sort of beyond it? What's that career goal? So I'm going to start us, Maria. Do you mind starting us with your thoughts on where you're hoping this will lead you to?
So I would take it step by step. So in my undergrad, I feel like I've learned so many of the tactile skills, as well as some of the science and like all of the processes that actually happen when you're doing chemistry. And I feel like once you're able to comfortably design your own experiments and work towards a goal, you can then like move on to being a more advanced researcher, such as Cynthia and Emanuela are experiencing in their graduate degree. And then in that role, you kind of do very intense research where you have this huge scientific question that you're trying to answer, and it's going to take you years of work to answer that. And then from there, I think after I hopefully finish my graduate degree, I've always found that like some of the mentorship that I've been offered like throughout my undergrad has just been so influential, and I would really want to be that mentor for someone. So there's a lot of opportunities to do that. So there are obviously your professors that you meet that are going to be influential in that, or people who are leading research groups within your university. So anything like that I think would be great, just because I'm Latina, and I think it's so important to like have someone who is Latina in those roles, because honestly, still like in my undergraduate career, I still have yet to meet someone who is like me. And I feel like even though those mentors that I've had have been really diverse, I think it'd be really great to be someone, to be that person for someone who is able to connect with me on a deeper level.
That's incredible. And you're right, representation is so important, not only in those often thought of like scientist roles, but also in these mentorship roles to support other people as they're going through the process. So thank you for that note, Maria. Maybe I'll pass it over to Cynthia. Do you want to share with you your end goal and career goals?
Yeah, so definitely, I think one of the most important things that I've learned in getting up to this point is that usually a big misconception with getting a degree at any level of chemistry is that you're going to then get a job either in teaching chemistry, or you're going to be stuck at a benchtop for the rest of your life. And actually that's like the complete opposite the more I've learned. So I have friends who've graduated with their PhDs in chemistry or masters in chemistry who have gone to actually incorporate a few other things that they're really passionate about. So such as like law. So there's patent. Yeah, you can do, if you're a fan of, law things, you can go do work in a law firm looking over, either chemistry or other science patents and whatnot. I have a friend who just recently graduated from my lab who's doing consulting, so on the more business side of it. So one thing I guess I want people to take away is that you don't have to be stuck at a lab. It's like you can combine passions that aren't just benchtop work. But for me, one of the biggest things, I guess, my end goal is ultimately, I remember when I first wanted to get an undergraduate degree in chemistry, I was really inspired by my high school teachers. I was like, I want to be that person for somebody, right? And especially like what Maria said, it's really important to only see like Latinas and or like Spanish people or people of other races and whatnot. And so it's like that was important to me. And then obviously I went on to get my PhD. So I still would like to enter in the realm of academia, maybe take a few years to dip into industry and see what other things are out there. Because like I said, now that I've learned that there's so many opportunities and other areas that I can look into. So yeah, definitely academia is end goal, but we'll see if I might delve into other things before then, because there is so much to do and other passions I can combine.
Excellent. Thank you, Cynthia. I didn't even think of things like law that could sort of intersect with. We have about 2 minutes left here, and I want to make sure we have space for both Emanuela and Nate's response. So Emanuela, do you want to share with us your thoughts on your end goal?
Yeah, sure. I guess I will say I'm actually not sure what I want to do. I'm in my third year of a PhD, and that's completely fine. You can figure it out as you go along. But I also want to say that when I was thinking about what benchtop science was, I had one picture in my mind. It was a person in a white lab coat with the kind of beaker that's behind Nate and colorful liquids, and that was it. And the more I learned, I actually realized there's so much variety to even benchtop science, and everything from nanotechnology, like Maria said, which is like teeny tiny things, and at the intersection of material science and chemical engineering, to folks at MGH and the Broad who are processing COVID tests right now. Some of them are actually chemists who biological chemists or biochemists who do that. And the people who are developing vaccines or trying to develop vaccines, also benchtop chemists and chemical biologists and biologists as well. So there's a really wide variety, and just like research opportunities, there are opportunities for everyone at many levels of education, education in chemistry, to work as a benchtop scientist, whether it's for pharmaceutical companies or research institutes or biotech startups. If you're in the Boston, Massachusetts area, there's a wide range of options.
Excellent. Thank you, Emanuela. And Nate, we'll give you a chance to answer this question too. What would you like to share in terms of your end goal?
So similar to everyone else, like one favorite quote that my biochemistry professor told me is, it's kind of a cliche quote, but school teaches you the alphabet and it's up to you to go out into the world and make poetry. So I usually bite off more than I can chew, but it means that I can, try and do as much as I can. So I hope to work for like a pharmaceutical company like Pfizer or Merck. I also like to branch into like the energy sector, so like nuclear power as well. But I also hope that I can continue past my undergraduate degree and go into my master's or my PhD and go into research as well.
Awesome, love it. Well, thank you all so much. I know 30 minutes is never enough time to get to all of our questions here. So I do want to say thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have you shut off your videos, but give a little wave before you head on out. Thank you. Excellent. And I hope all of you had a chance to really enjoy our programming here. We really enjoyed having you with us. So just a couple notes before you head out is that this is just one piece of our National Chemistry Week celebration. We have some other things that you can check out starting tomorrow at 1 p.m. We have a live animal show all about sticky feet. And then on Friday, we have sort of our big science show with Bassam Shakashiri, who is a fabulous presenter that's going to just show us how chemistry is a lot of fun. And if you enjoyed this program, please consider supporting MOS at home by visiting mos.org, or I should say engage.mos.org, to be able to continue to support these programs as we hope to continue to offer them. But thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time here virtually with the Museum of Science.